The broadcast went live at precisely 1500 hours Imperial Standard Time. Dez Yarro's hands trembled as he adjusted the neural feed levels, watching the girl's vitals displayed on his monitoring screen. She couldn't have been more than 20, brown skin, shaved head with a single streak of blue, eyes that stared directly into the camera with unsettling calm. Audio check complete. Visual feed stable. Empathic resonance at 40% and climbing, Dez reported, his voice mechanical. He'd done this job for 6 years. This was the first execution he'd been assigned to broadcast. Increase empathic capture to 60%, ordered Director Vel, the Imperial Broadcast Authority's senior official. The Sovereign wants the colonies to feel this one. Dez hesitated. Sir, regulations limit empathic resonance to. The regulations have been temporarily amended by special Imperial decree. Vel slid a crimson authorization chip across the console. The girl's name is Alara Voss. She infiltrated 7 secure Imperial facilities over the past year. Security finally caught her attempting to access the quantum vault on Ceres Station. Dez swallowed hard, adjusting the settings. The empathic capture would broadcast not just images and sound, but the girl's emotions directly into the neural receivers of billions across the 12 core systems. At 60% resonance, viewers would experience a shadow of her pain, fear, and whatever else she felt in her final moments. What did she steal? Dez asked. Nothing, according to official records. That's what makes her dangerous. Vel's thin lips curled into a smile. Countdown to broadcast in 3 minutes. The Galactic Empire had stood for 3 centuries, expanding from Earth to consume 7 major alien civilizations and countless minor ones. The Imperial Peace, they called it. What began as humanity reaching for the stars had evolved into humanity controlling them, through force, economic leverage, and technological superiority. Broadcast commencing in 60 seconds, announced the automated system. On the main screen, Alara Voss stood on the execution platform, bound by gravity restraints. Behind her loomed the impossibly massive Imperial Palace on Nova Terra, the manufactured capital planet. The Sovereign himself would not be present, of course. He hadn't made a public appearance in over 40 years. His avatar, a perfect golden humanoid figure, stood on a balcony overlooking the platform. 30 seconds. Dez noticed something odd. The girl was smiling. 10 seconds. 9. 8. The massive Imperial banner, black field with a silver helix symbol, rippled in the artificial breeze behind the platform. Billions of neural receivers across the Empire connected simultaneously. Dez felt the familiar tingle of the system linking to his monitoring implant. 3. 2. 1. Broadcast active. The Sovereign's avatar raised one gleaming hand. The artificial voice boomed through the square and across the neural network. Citizens of the Empire, witness justice. The criminal Alara Voss has committed treason against the Imperial peace. She has refused to disclose her co-conspirators. Let her execution serve as a reminder, nothing remains hidden from Imperial sight. Dez watched the resonance indicators spike as viewers connected. 62%. 63. Director Vel nodded in satisfaction. Why is it climbing? Dez whispered to his assistant tech. The younger man shrugged. The viewers must be particularly engaged by this one. On screen, Alara finally spoke. Her voice was surprisingly warm, conversational, as if she were chatting with friends rather than addressing her executioners. You know, it's funny, she said. You've spent 300 years building this enormous machine of oppression, and none of you ever wondered about its off switch. The Sovereign's avatar continued as if she hadn't spoken. The sentence is termination of consciousness. May the Imperial peace endure forever. The gravity restraints brightened, tightening around Alara's limbs. The execution process had begun, first pain, then cellular breakdown, finally neural dissolution. The Empire had evolved beyond merely killing bodies, they destroyed minds. Dez's console erupted with alerts. Sir, empathic resonance at 70% and climbing rapidly. Something's wrong with the limiters. Vel leaned forward. Impossible. The system is hard-coded to cap at 80% for safety. It's at 83 now, sir, Dez reported, fingers flying across the interface. I can't override it. On screen, Elera's body contorted in pain, but her eyes remained fixed on the camera. Blood trickled from her nose, her ears. The gravity restraints glowed white-hot now. 87%, Dez called out. Director, we need to terminate the broadcast. Absolutely not, Vel snapped. The Sovereign ordered full transmission until completion. 90%. 92. Dez felt sweat pouring down his back. At this level, viewers wouldn't just feel a shadow of her pain, they'd experience it almost fully. Neural receptors could burn out. People could die. Elera's voice somehow cut through her own screams. 47 minutes, she gasped. Remember, 47 minutes. Then something impossible happened. As her body began to disintegrate, the empathic resonance hit 100%. The monitoring system exploded in a shower of sparks. Through his own neural link, Dez felt something transfer, not just emotion, but information. Dense, compressed, flooding past all security protocols. She's transmitting, he shouted, clawing at his implant. Director, she's using the broadcast network to transmit data. Vel was already calling security, his face contorted with rage and fear. But it was too late. Across Dez's neural field and presumably billions of others, he saw it. Blueprints, access codes, suppressed histories, evidence of genocides, the Sovereign's true identity. In her final moment, as the gravity weapons reduced her to atoms, Elera Voss smiled. The broadcast cut to the Imperial seal. The timer on Dez's partially functioning console showed the execution had lasted exactly 6 minutes and 23 seconds. Which meant they had 40 minutes and 37 seconds left before whatever she had planned. Dez ripped out his neural implant and ran. The screaming started 23 minutes after the execution. Dez was halfway to the district transit hub when emergency sirens began wailing across the capital. Imperial shuttles, normally restricted to designated flight corridors, scattered across the sky like startled birds. On public screens, the Imperial seal flickered, replaced by fragmented data streams, classified information pouring into public consciousness. System breach in sectors 4 through 17, announced an automated voice, its usual measured tone distorting into digital chaos. All security personnel report to, the message dissolved into static. A woman next to Dez clutched her head, eyes wide. Did you see it? She whispered. About the Phobos massacre. They killed 80,000. Dez kept moving. The neural data Elera had piggybacked through the empathic resonance was blooming in millions of minds simultaneously. 3 centuries of Imperial secrets, the truth behind the subjugation of the Centauri, the engineered plagues on Tau Ceti, the identity theft protocols that kept the Sovereign immortal, all of it flooding into public consciousness at once. 31 minutes remaining, Dez muttered to himself. An explosion rocked the government district behind him. He turned to see the Ministry of Information spire collapse in slow motion, its gleaming facade peeling away like skin from fruit. His comm band buzzed with an incoming emergency channel. He hesitated, then accepted. Yarro, where the hell are you? Director Vel's voice was tight with panic. Running, like anyone with sense, Dez replied. The execution, it was a transmission vector. She was a carrier for some kind of neural virus. Security networks are collapsing system-wide. Not a virus, Dez said quietly. The truth. The connection terminated abruptly. Above, a massive Imperial dreadnought drifted out of formation, its engines flaring erratically before it collided with the central banking tower. The impact sent shockwaves across the capital district, shattering the crystal walkways connecting the upper-tier residences. 27 minutes after the execution, the sovereign finally addressed the Empire. His golden avatar appeared on the remaining functional screens, but something was wrong. The image glitched repeatedly, revealing glimpses of a withered human form in a life support chamber. Citizens of the Eternal Empire, the voice wavered between its usual resonant tone and a thin, raspy wheeze. Disregard all unauthorized transmissions. The criminal Alara Voss implanted falsified data. The transmission abruptly cut to security footage from the Quantum Vault on Ceres. It showed Alara, 3 months earlier, accessing a restricted terminal. But she wasn't stealing anything, she was uploading. The footage zoomed in on her lips as she whispered to the system, "Remember." 35 minutes after the execution, the first military defection occurred. The 7th Fleet, responsible for suppressing the Proxima Rebellion, transmitted an open-channel surrender to resistance forces. Within minutes, similar transmissions cascaded across the Empire as military commanders, many with neural implants that had received Alara's data package, abandoned their posts or turned on Imperial command centers. Dez found himself at the spaceport, now in chaos. The Imperial guards had vanished from their posts. Citizens and officials alike scrambled for any vessel capable of atmospheric exit. "You're the broadcast technician," said a voice behind him. Dez turned to find a slight figure in maintenance coveralls. Their eyes held the same unsettling calm he'd seen in Alara's. "How did you?" 41 minutes, they interrupted. "You should come with me now." The maintenance worker led him through service corridors to a small hangar bay housing utility shuttles. 3 others waited inside, a Centauri with characteristic luminescent markings, an aging human admiral still in partial uniform, and a pale teenager with neural augmentation scars similar to Alara's. "You're part of whatever she did," Dez said. It wasn't a question. The admiral nodded. "Alara was our messenger, not our leader." "There is no leader." That was the point. "What did she actually do?" Dez asked as they boarded the shuttle. The teenager spoke, her voice eerily reminiscent of Alara's. "The Empire maintained control through information asymmetry. They knew everything about us, we knew only what they permitted. Alara equalized that asymmetry. The execution broadcast was the perfect transmission vector," the Centauri finished. "Maximum viewership, empathic resonance channels wide open. The pain of her death broke through the neural security protocols. She encoded everything into her own consciousness. Every imperial crime, every override code, every contingency plan." The maintenance worker piloted the shuttle upward as the city burned below. 300 years of lies, exposed in 6 minutes of broadcast. The rest was just entropy. 46 minutes after the execution, the Sovereign's life support systems failed simultaneously across all 9 of his backup facilities. The clone bodies, kept in stasis for consciousness transfer, liquefied in their tanks. The neural network that had allowed a single consciousness to rule for 3 centuries fragmented irreparably. 47 minutes, the Admiral said, checking his chronometer as the shuttle broke atmosphere. Below them, the Imperial Palace collapsed in on itself as its quantum stabilizers failed. The symbolic heart of galactic oppression imploded with mathematical precision, its destruction visible across half the planet. "Why 47 minutes?" Dez asked as the stars emerged around them. The teenager smiled, Alara's smile. "Humans need symbols. Revolutions need mythology. 47 is a prime number. It can't be divided or broken down. Like the truth." The maintenance worker engaged the FTL drive. The Empire maintained control by convincing everyone resistance was futile. Alara proved otherwise. "And now?" Dez asked as the capital shrank to a burning pinpoint behind them. "Now comes the hard part," the Admiral said. "Building something better." The Centauri touched a control panel, bringing up a galactic display. Across the map, imperial outposts were going dark while communication channels between formerly subjugated worlds flared to life. She wasn't the first to try, the teenager said quietly. But she was the first to understand that the Empire's greatest weapon wasn't its fleets or its enforcers. It was the fear in people's minds. Break that, and the rest falls quickly. 49 minutes after the execution of Alara Voss, the Galactic Empire existed only in memory. In its place, chaos, uncertainty, possibility. The teenager handed Dez a neural interface. We saved a copy of the data package for historical records. Someone needs to make sure the truth isn't forgotten or rewritten. Someone who witnessed it firsthand. Dez stared at the device. Why me? You tried to stop the broadcast when the resonance levels became dangerous, the Admiral said. Small mercies matter. And you have experience making people feel things through a neural feed, added the maintenance worker with a thin smile. The shuttle accelerated to light speed, the stars stretching into luminous streaks around them. Dez thought about Alara's final smile. About Director Vel's face as his carefully constructed reality collapsed. About the billions of minds simultaneously awakening to the truth. 47 minutes, he murmured, and plugged in the neural interface. The Empire had fallen. Whatever came next would take considerably longer to build. The war for history began on day 2. While systems crumbled and former imperial worlds scrambled to establish new governments, the first imperial loyalist propaganda appeared, claiming Alara Voss had used illegal neural manipulation to brainwash the population. That her truth was manufactured. That chaos would doom civilized space. 6 months later, Dez sat in a cramped broadcast studio on a former mining colony, now an independent settlement. The equipment was outdated, nothing like the imperial technology he'd once commanded, but it worked. Broadcasting live to the free systems, he began, the familiar tingle of neural connection washing over him. Today marks the half-year anniversary of the 47-minute revolution. Their audience was smaller than the Empire's had been, but growing. Dozens of independent broadcasts now formed a loose network across formerly imperial space, sharing resources, coordinating relief efforts, debating governance models. Before today's refugee relocation update, we have a special memorial, Dez continued. He nodded to the teenager, Mina, Alara's sister, who activated a holographic display. A simple image appeared, Alara Voss, not as she had appeared on the execution platform, but laughing in what looked like a makeshift kitchen. Ordinary. Human. Remember that revolutions aren't made by martyrs, Dez said. They're made by people who couldn't live with what they knew and couldn't forget what they saw. As the broadcast continued, a small ship approached the settlement from the outer system. Inside, the aging admiral reviewed intelligence reports of imperial remnants regrouping on the rim worlds. Freedom, it turned out, took considerably more than 47 minutes to secure. But they had made a start. The memorial had become tradition. 10 years to the day since the 47-minute revolution, thousands gathered in what was once Imperial Square, now called Truth Commons. Dez watched from the edges, gray streaking his temples now. The broadcast network he'd helped build had evolved into something unexpected, not propaganda, but a true communication system connecting hundreds of independent worlds. His role had diminished as younger voices took prominence. This pleased him more than he could express. Uncle Dez. A small figure detached from the crowd, racing toward him. Alara's niece, Mina's daughter, named Voss in memory of her aunt, now 7 years old and already showing the same determined intelligence. Did I miss the projection? She asked, taking his hand. Just in time, Dez replied as the memorial began. Instead of speeches, they simply projected the complete, unedited execution broadcast, followed by 47 minutes of recorded history from that day, the collapse seen from 100 different perspectives. When it ended, Voss looked up at him. Why do we watch it every year? It's sad. Dez knelt beside her. To remember that no system is too big to question. And no person is too small to change everything. Above them, ships from a dozen different worlds and species hovered in peaceful formation. Not an empire, not yet a true federation, something new, still being defined. 47 minutes to break it, Dez said softly. And a lifetime to build something better. The child nodded solemnly, as if storing this knowledge for future use. In the distance, imperial loyalists still occasionally caused trouble. The old power structures hadn't disappeared entirely, just transformed, adapted. The fight continued in subtler ways. But here, for today at least, they remembered. And sometimes, remembering was itself a revolutionary act.